Beautiful. So here we are again today doing another episode of Becoming Cosmically You. And I'm really excited. Amanda's another wing it and see type of girl. And so she also has lots of experiences with an alien abduction, I believe, talking to a mom and a sister who passed over. So
Mhm.
I think we're sharing the space with like minds today. So Amanda, where did you begin your journey? Where did it all kind of kick off for you?
Oh, look, I think as a young child, I was definitely seeing other realms
Mm.
and definitely had this intense awareness would freak out pretty much everybody around me. But I'm being taken to aliens at the moment. So I'll share that. When I was a very little girl, we lived in an old mill house. I used to see little green men. And my mum actually had told me that she freaked out because she knew I was seeing them. So she said she looked at my eyes and it was like she couldn't physically see what I was seeing, but looking at my eyes, she knew I was
Mm,
saying or seeing. And so I do remember this. I remember seeing heaps of them, and I was quite scared as a little girl because nobody else could see them.
mm,
So they weren't doing anything particularly scary. It was kind of my memory of it is like jovial, but I
mm.
was petrified because nobody else could see them. And
Yeah.
and it was often a no, you can't, don't be silly, it's fine. And it wasn't until I was a young adult that my mum actually said, no, like I did believe you. I just really didn't know how to handle it. So I was hoping you would say it was in your imagination, right?
Mm,
And I mean, that I think it all kind of rolls into the same sort of thing. I knew very young that this human experience was not it. Like
mm,
I remember being maybe 6 or 7 and saying to my mum, like, what is life? And
mm.
she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what is this? And I can so remember it was such a strong feeling that I had because I was like, this is not all there is. Like why am I here? What is this? And she again had no idea how to answer that. My background growing up, my mum was a drug addict. I was one of 4 girls. My dad was a truck driver, very rarely home. And so she was in survival mode, I think
Mm.
most of my childhood. So she didn't actually have the capacity to even, I think learn. And back then I think that we didn't access to learn much either. And
Mm.
anything that was kind of otherworldly or not considered normal was kind of hidden, right? It
Mm.
was like taboo. So she certainly wasn't going to be asking friends or family or strangers or anybody about, my experiences, and definitely wasn't nurturing what I was experiencing either.
Yeah.
Um, you know, heavily psychic as a child. I remember walking into a supermarket and there was a mountain bike um, competition, and I said, I'm winning that. And mum said, oh, yeah. I think she just thought, oh, every child says that. I said, no, no, I'm winning that. Like, that's my bike. Like, I know I'm going to win it. And every time we went to the supermarket, I was like, oh, it's my bike. Like, I'm cannot wait to win this. And my other sisters, of course, were going, no, I'm going to win it. I'm going to win it. And I just knew with conviction. And the man, called up and called the house. I answered the phone, and he said that I was the winner. And I told my mum, and she was floored. She's like, how did you know? And my entire life, that's what it was. How do you know? How do you
Mm.
know? And I think a lot of us that have come remembering, we've been born and we remember things. We have this awareness, and I think that we are black sheep, right, in the family. We often choose families to support our growth. And I feel like I'm hearing and feeling, Lou, that you would resonate with that. Yeah, I feel like that's also occurred for you in child.
I now describe myself as the rainbow goat.
Yes, I actually love that. Isn't it interesting? See, I mean, look, I don't have a negative connotation with the word black sheep, but I certainly feel like the vibration of the rainbow goat better. That
Yeah.
feels good, right? That feels really good.
Yeah.
I think, from a really, really young age, I just knew. I remember school being amazing. I loved it. I think the routine and stuff being away from like that intense home environment. But um, I was able to see tests and shit. So I remember like I remember I was in advanced maths, all the advanced classes, and I remember like doing multiple choice and just hearing A, D, like just hearing all the answers. Like, and but it was normal. Like I just thought
Yeah.
that was my brain, you know. Um, and you know, I was the Dr. Phil, I suppose. Like I remember parenting my mom and you know, questioning her and being quite a different child. Um, but I think shit got pretty real. I was about 17 and I had a dream. Um, I moved out of home, so I left home as soon as I could. And I had a dream that I was abducted by aliens. And I want to discuss this. I just feel like your audience is it's a place that I can just bring this and it's a really fucking cool story because I had always dreamt vividly. I'd always astral traveled in my dreams, and I went, you know, this dream that I had was so vivid and so real. And my mum was even in it, and I remember walking along a corridor, and I was up very high, and I had this awareness that I was pretty much there was nothing holding up this floor and this corridor, and it was all metal. It was like, you know, the silver bench tops in the back of a cafe, like metal everywhere, like the ground, the wall, there was a railing on the left. And I was led into this room and put on this cold metal bed. Again, it was all just this shiny metal. And I was laying on this bed and they had my legs in stirrups.
Mm.
And you probably know where I'm going with this. And they were, it was like before I knew like what had actually occurred in my dream, it was like they were taking something, right? And I'm laying there going, no. And I looked over and my mum's energy was there. And she was like, it's fine, honey. Like, don't worry, you're fine. And then I woke up. And the reason the dream stuck with me for so long was because I remember waking up and I had pain in my womb. And it
Mm.
was like period pain. And I vividly remember speaking to my auntie who we'd often share dreams and travels and stuff. And I was like, I had the weirdest dream last night. It's so weird because I have pains in my womb. Like I've got this weird period pain, this cramping. And
Mm.
that lasted probably the whole day, maybe even over to the next day. And for years, I thought it was a dream. And then I lived on the Gold Coast with this nurse, this male nurse one day, and we got talking about all weird and wonderful things. We were high at the time. We, you know, back then I was taking drugs and doing all the fun things that young adults often do. And right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're just having weird combos, just talking about cool shit. And we spoke about aliens. And I said, oh, I remember having a really weird dream about aliens once. And I told him, he looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. And he went, are you fucking kidding me? I said, what? And he goes, I have to show you something. And he took me out to his computer and he went onto some weird black dark web website. And in this website was hundreds of thousands of alien encounters and this section where they were all the same. That
yeah,
all these women had reported the same thing where they had their eggs where it was this cold metal bed, where it was this, you know, exactly this dream I'd had. And I was like, holy fuck, that wasn't a dream. That wasn't a dream. And of course, I went down the rabbit hole going, oh, I've got a negative blood type. I've got this alien blood. This makes so much sense. And so, you know, I've always been told I'm otherworldly. And so I minded, okay, cool. Like I've got some alien fam up there, a couple of little alien children, perhaps. You know, clearly they're my friends because I've seen those little green men from a child. And it's kind of like I don't know, kind of like a cool accepted part, I suppose. Um,
yeah. I love
you know,
that. Did you get to the realization what they were doing with you in that room, or did you get an answer on that?
pardon.
Did you get to the realization or an answer as to what they were doing with you in that room?
Yeah, so myself intuitively in this website, it was saying that they would come down and basically that I was partially alien and that they would come down and it was an agreement that I had made to let them have some of my eggs.
Yeah.
And that
I,
was the feeling that I'd gotten.
yeah, my team just said they were harvesting eggs, so I just wanted to tell you if you didn't already know,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, I did come to that conclusion. Thanks, Lou. And you know what? It doesn't actually feel awful to me.
Mm,
It was like cool. Like I knew that I must have given them permission, right? It didn't feel like that. It was quite calm. It was quite
yeah.
calm.
And I mean, a lot of us have made contracts, for the bit in
Right,
between lives, or cosmic contracts, that we agree that we will do certain things in these 3D bodies. And my team just want to tell you that you're not partly alien. You're like 100% alien in a 3D body. Okay. Just to clear that out there, 100%
thank you,
alien.
sorry, yeah, thank you.
As a lot of us
That's so
are, to
funny.
be honest. I mean, a lot of us are, and I think this is what we're experiencing in the earth right now. And that's why a lot of us were brought into this timeline, to help these
Right,
humans realize that they're not actually human, and that we're evolving into this cosmic new era, new earth, however you want to describe it. So I'm really passionate about sharing everyone's stories, to kind of like normalize it, because it is just
right.
normal. And actually, I spoke to someone the other day that had a similar dream to yours, although it was more of a rebirth. She didn't have her eggs harvested, or what she couldn't remember anyway. Um, she had a similar thing. She was walked through to a corridor, and she was given a chance at that point whether to live or die. And my team came in and channeled some messages to help her, because I think a lot of people who have these kind of dreams um feel very disorientated. There's not a lot of
Right,
still there's a lot of stigma and taboo around a lot of these topics. I mean, it's getting a little bit more out there with like the terms like starseed and soul origin and things like that. More people are connecting to it, but people are still a
right.
bit like, "Oh, aliens, they live up in the sky," and you're like, not really. They live on planet Earth, and you're one. you know.
It's so funny because I think that we've chosen to come in at this time for a reason, for a purpose. And for me, part of my purpose is to support people in remembering,
Mm,
right? In remembering that we are far greater than this human journey. Yeah, what I'm hearing now is like in not taking things so seriously,
yeah.
you know. I've had some pretty big experiences in this lifetime, and I chose them, and I've been showing myself before coming in, choosing them, right. But I am still having the human experience. So I've chosen to have it authentically, so I haven't remembered everything. I'm remembering through the experience, right. And
Mm,
I've recently lost my mum, and it was so interesting to me because 8 years ago I lost my sister. I lost her to suicide, and even saying lost doesn't really resonate anymore. But she transitioned. She took herself home, and I was 8 months pregnant at the time, and it was so soul shattering.
mm,
Like I in that moment I was in my humanness so much that I forgot. It was like I had complete amnesia of the vastness of the journey, of the vastness of the soul. And it took me a couple of years to come
mm,
home to myself. And when I did come home to myself, it was the deepest, most incredible remembering. And it
mm.
was so profound that I immediately changed careers from a teacher to a healer, therapist, psychic, fully just being all of me, because the experience was so shifting, so profound, right. And I think having had such, it took me years to even begin to heal and to come back home to self after my sister. And then just recently my mum's passed away, and it was so different.
Mm,
It was so different, to the point where I was saying to my husband, like, I humans take shit so seriously. Like,
mm.
humans are so taken by death, as though that's all there is. Like,
Yeah.
and this is like literally the day after my mum had transitioned, and I was in this like portal, in the death portal, where the connection was so clear.
Mm,
And I was just like, it's just so weird, that we forget that they're still around us. They're actually around us more when they transition. And, you know, I was just so deeply connected. And then probably a couple of weeks after she transitioned, I was catapulted back into the humanness, because it was almost like my higher self was like, just remember, so that you can still lead with grace, so that you're not
mm,
too far in this, everything's fine, I'm fine, and who cares? She's still around me, but so that you can actually, have that deep empathy. And so I was catapulted back into the humanness and was like, holy shit. And I was in that, I leaned into that and deeply grieved my mother and then stood back up again. And this journey of grief with her has been very much leaning into this kind of, I say humanness because it's sort of this surrender space where I'm honoring and being in this sacred space of grief, because I'm like, oh, our journey being of the same form has finished, but our journey together will never end,
Mm,
right? You've changed form for this part of the journey. And so
yeah.
it's been such a beautiful, beautiful experience that's enabled me to really support my clients even deeper than I already did. And
Mm.
and I think they're taking me back. They're going, oh, you didn't say that. My God, they're taking me back. But
You got bossy
I
ones as well then.
yeah, oh yeah, especially one. And he's like this with my clients as well. And I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna tell you how it is. I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear, it's what you need to hear. This is what's coming through. So after my deep awakening, I made it my mission to support people in healing, to support them in remembering, to support them in remembering how powerful they are. I channeled many programs and webinars and retreats and all these different things that are helping create these ripples,
Mm,
these ripples and this web of hope and healing, reaching people who are ready. That's my purpose. I only connect with people who are ready, so they are coming to me. It's not ever seeking others, it's them coming to me, and I only connect with people who I'm able to support deeply, right?
mm,
And so the way that often occurs is it might be some sort of therapies, hypnotherapies, some energetic clearing healing, but it's always led and driven by these guys. So I've got 3 guides that speak through me, and I will have one session maybe somebody who's deeply grieving, and often they'll come to me if they're experiencing something that I've been through, right? And so often it'll be somebody who comes that's grieving, and I'll be connecting with their loved one, so
mm,
talking to spirit. And then, the next day somebody could come for business mentorship or about their marriage or their relationship or heart healing or connecting with themselves. And I don't have like a target audience. I don't have this like demographic. I don't niche down like everybody says you have to. I literally, if you are having this fucking human experience, I'm here to support you.
mm,
And 4 years full time into it, and I'm deeply anchored in, it does not matter anybody who books with me. I don't need to know anything about them. In fact, I hope I know nothing. I don't want to know anything about you. And when we connect, I trust and know that whatever you need to know will come through,
mm.
right? um
Yeah.
and
And it's such a powerful gift, isn't it? Being able to connect and being able to be guided and being able to channel. And I think a lot of these skills are things that everyone should be guided to, because I think there's
right,
still a lot of people out there, especially in our industry. Like I'm the same as you. I have certain things that I say on social media to speak to certain people, but I don't
yeah,
necessarily target a certain age of woman, or she does this,
right,
but that's what a lot of people say you should do. I don't like all that kind of stuff either. But
same,
um, I think what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of like pillars crumbling down around things like modalities, the
right,
niching, around money, around ego. And actually,
mm,
what I'm seeing coming through is a lot of really authentic people who've actually lived through their own experience and then created
yeah,
almost their own systems and modalities and methodologies to actually support
yeah,
these new people coming through. And that's what I love, the authentic way of
yeah.
creating business, and it sounds like you're the same. Um,
It is, and it's funny because when I started, and often we are, I was like, I need all these certifications. Nobody will take me seriously, So I went out and I studied and I invested and I, became hypnotherapist and this practitioner, that practitioner, all these certifications. And the first year, I remember having them all proudly displayed on my wall because I wanted people to know, like, I can help you. And then I moved and I was traveling and I had 2 offices. This is when I was doing a lot of face-to-face work. And I remember one day I was packing everything up. I used to take all the certificates off the wall. in the frames, pack them, wrap them up, and then take them to the other office. And one day I looked at them and I remember the moment just going, I actually don't give a fuck. Like, I don't need any of this shit. It's just paper.
Yeah.
And it was the moment that I realized that, yeah, that stuff's good. Like, that actually, it supports me in being able to kind of have more of a toolbox to use. But the thing I use the most is my own experience
Mm.
and these guys,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
it's that shit. And that's long gone now. It's like I don't have anything up on my walls, as you can see. This is
Yeah.
my home office, but no certifications. And I think that was something being taken now, 80s and 90s. It was ripe. It was like, you need to have this certification, you need to have something. And I think that we've been, really chosen to break that paradigm, you know,
Yeah.
to
I
remind
totally
people.
agree. And I've got a similar story to you. No, I started with hypnotherapy a long, long time
Yeah.
ago. I actually know Reiki before that. Thank you, team.
Yeah. Reiki. Yeah, I've
Reiki.
got Reiki too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all similar. I had Reiki because I had a demonic possession that tried to
Yeah.
take over my soul in my house, and I met this lady who I absolutely adore. She came in, I did Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and then I did hypnotherapy and then I just got to the stage where I was just like, I don't really even like these healing modalities. They're not
Yeah.
they're not really
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
getting what I need to do for my clients. So I just literally
Right.
focused solidly on refining my connection with my team and then
Yeah.
expanding my team and expanding
Yeah.
my channeling and my gift of connecting and my gift of channeling energy and now
Mm.
I say to people, even when they're brand new, you do not need any healing modalities. Like you don't
Yeah,
need it.
and look, I'm finding myself do the same as well, Lou. And you're probably like me in that you often bring, you know, I guess a bit of a recruitment agency for the universe where people are kind of on the cusp of awakening and they're drawn to us to kind of remember and reignite that purpose and passion. And I'm finding the same thing. I you know saying to people like, but you don't actually need all this stuff. Like, you have everything you need within you. you know
Mm,
they get to skip the steps that we went through.
yeah,
We sort of walked that and then went, oh fuck, it's this stuff that matters, it's this stuff. And I love the word gift because I think that we are incredibly gifted in that we've chosen to lead. We've chosen to lead, to remember and lead, but also know that we're all made of the same stuff. Like, everybody has the ability, to ignite this within them that we can actually all channel. I think that some people's purpose is channeling, and that's I feel for me that's my deep purpose. Not everybody has that purpose in this lifetime, but when we talk about abilities and being able to connect with past loved ones, being able to tune into our intuition and hear our higher self and remember our journey. I think we can all do that,
oh
and
yeah.
like, so much of what I do. I remember a lady I did a lot of work with, and a lot of work, and she was amazing. She really supported me in my healing, but she never told me that I could do it ever,
Mm,
and I remember when I first really woke up having this thought of like, I don't want clients being like I was. And I remember being so reliant on her. It was like every week I needed a session. I was constantly going to her for support. And so
mm,
I made it my mission that no, what I want to do is really empower people to self-heal, to
yeah.
self-heal, you know, like, so teaching things that they could do themselves, doing timeline adjustments themselves, tuning into their own, timeline, being able to clear shit themselves, being able to turn their light on, all these things that we all have the ability to do. And
Mm.
that's where my sort of passion is like waking and shaking, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same as you. I hate all that guru shit out there. Like I fucking
Yeah,
hate it. If my clients or anyone try to put me on a pedestal, I'm like, no, 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 we don't fucking do
right,
that around here.
right. And yeah, look, ego fucking loves it though,
Oh yeah, my team
right?
fucking love it. They've got like the biggest egos. Like you people humans think that beings sit above, I don't know what dimension, we go infinite, right? But
Yeah.
they think that these beings are like all angelic. They just talk about the angelic realm, that they've got beautiful wings and they've got no egos. It's like, no fucking way. these beings have got the biggest fucking ego, even the ones from the light, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
love it. And so when I say to people, my team will love your reviews. So can we get your reviews? We need to put the
Yeah.
reviews on social because obviously we want more people to see what we're doing. But for
Right.
me, I'm like, I don't need that shit because I already know how fucking awesome I am with my team. But they want to hear it. They're
Yeah.
laughing at
Yeah.
me
You're
hard
so
now.
right. You're so right. But I do feel like the mirror thing comes up a lot. So when somebody says that to me, I'm like, but then it's you. And
Yeah,
people often do the whole, you've changed my life. I'm like, but I haven't. I've shared this. You've done it. You
yeah,
fucking booked your session. You invested in yourself. You done the work. I'm
yeah,
simply sharing the fucking message,
yeah,
and I often do the horse thing. I'm like, I'm the fucking water. You're coming to it. You're walking. You're taking the action. Because I think that a lot of power is taken from people, and it's the same as the fucking system, the medical system, right?
mm.
Come to me and keep coming to me, and I'll keep you sick, so you come to me. Like, fuck that. Like, let's all wake up, and the more people that we can shake and wake, the more the light then travels and travels and travels.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, in
I
in
I, I
in
have
10 years, sorry, Amanda, in 10 years, I don't think we're gonna have this situation where we go to a healer to heal. I think we're gonna all
right.
just have this innate ability
I
to
agree
do it instantly ourselves, which is, what we've
because
been doing.
you would feel like the last 2 years, and this is coming to now, so the last 2 years, um, rapid, fucking rapid expansion collectively, and the whole COVID fiasco. It
Yeah.
was the Great Awakening.
Yeah, it was the
I
catalyst.
fucking Great Awakening, and
Yeah.
people died. People die every day. Like, it's, I'm sorry, it's not that I'm, people, oh, how can you say that it was great? COVID was the best fucking thing to happen to humanity because it done the wake and shake.
Yeah.
It was waking people up. It was, who am I? What am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? What's important to me? Um, it actually, and all the people that left, no, and you'd know this anyway, all the people that left had already made the commitment to do that. They were already leaving. That was their fucking blueprint. And COVID was simply the train they took to leave human
Mm.
form. Like, COVID didn't fucking kill them. It had to happen. And I remember we were deep in it, and I channeled through quite a bit. It was called the Great Awakening, and because everyone was saying, "What do you think? What do you think about this?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell them. Like, I think it's fucking brilliant. I think people are waking up. I think that this is humanity's opportunity to start again, to recognize and realize why we're here, and to be more, and that the stuff channel was very much about that, about
Mm.
that,
Mm.
right? It's this whole fear and love, and people being pushed to kind of choose, and um become aware, to become aware, and to have courage. Like, the amount of courage that it took to stand out on your own at that time, to fucking stand up, was huge. And
Mm.
the ripples that were created during that time is just immense. It's created such a shift for us and for those to come, and even those before us. Like, the shift is just astronomical, you
Mm.
know?
I agree. It definitely separated the timelines. At times I could literally physically feel it as well, like the
Yeah,
timeline separating. And I,
yeah,
at the time, the moment, I don't know what it was like where you were, Amanda, but here in the UK, it was absolute fucking shit show, shall we say?
yeah, yeah.
People were wearing masks and people were like going around the supermarket in certain ways and following each other, and they weren't meeting up with friends and stuff. And I was like,
Oh yeah, I mean, we're in
yeah,
Australia, right? So we
yeah,
were like so fucked up. Like, you're not allowed to go to the shops. One time a day you can go to the shops. Only allowed, like, it was so wild,
yeah,
and I was saying to my husband at the time, like, are we, like, we're okay, aren't we? Because we were very solid. We're like, we're not getting back. Like, you had to, everyone lost their jobs. Like, you had to be vaccinated to go into a shop. Like, it was heavy here. And we were firm. My husband and I were like, no, absolutely not. We are definitely not getting vaccinated. Not a chance in the world. He's like, okay, I'm going to buy a push bike because they're probably going to take our cars. They're probably going to take our register. So we were like prepping. Like, we were like, I mean, I didn't actually prep in terms of buying or stocking because I didn't feel intuitively I need that. But we were like, could we survive without government? Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, we could. And that was where our mind went to. And I said to her at one point, we're good, hey, like, we're not like, yeah, because everyone around us was getting vaccinated. Everyone was calling us crazy and irresponsible, and all our family and everyone. Not one person in our circle was in agreement with the way we were seeing things. And you know, we had that humanness moment of like, is it us? Like, are we wrong?
Mm.
And then we reflect on that now, and we're like, fuck, we're glad we stayed true to ourselves and what
Yeah.
we're feeling. You know?
I, I know. In the UK, we've still got like a few posters up if you go into like the shopping centres somewhere. And I
Mm,
walk past them and I just fucking laugh. I'm like, oh, I can't actually believe so many people fell for this bullshit. I still laugh at it. Like, one of the
yeah.
most dangerous, deadly viruses in all of the world, whatever. And people were
Mhm.
wearing like a piece of a mask that had been made on some shitty floor in India. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what the actual fuck? And people bought it. I was just like,
But
what?
everyone bought it. And this is why it was part of the Great Awakening, because it was like,
Mm,
we are being called to break old fucking cycles, old paradigms, old programs. They're being called to look through, to look at what's in front of us. And
yeah,
a lot of people didn't have the courage to do that and still don't. And that's okay. Like, that's their journey. But for some of us, I mean, some of our greatest work was achieved during that time. I know for me that's the case. It's like, that was fucking awesome. So many
mm,
people like woke up during that period. It was like, it was wild. I had we cared for my mum for the last few years before she transitioned, and the amount of doctors and nurses, and they just would laugh at me because, to say whatever you fucking want, like, I'm solid. um they were like, you're killing your mum, like, how are you not getting her vaccinated? She's got kidney disease, she's on dialysis, she's a smoker, she's this, she's that. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, that's why I'm not poisoning her with your vaccine.
yeah,
Oh, but you can't visit her in hospital. That's fine. I'll video call her. Oh, but don't you think you need to be beside her? No, it's fine. She's fine. I'm fine. Yeah, it was just a constant thing. Like, I had them calling me, going, Amanda, like, because I had the choice for her in terms of her medical decisions. And, they were like, I remember this lady saying, like, will you be able to live with yourself if your mum gets COVID? Because she's going to get it and she will die. And I said, yeah, absolutely. If she dies from COVID tomorrow, I will absolutely be able to live with myself, because that's her journey. And they
mm,
were just like, they were so programmed that to them, I was just crazy. I was so irresponsible. And then she ended up getting COVID. And it was so fucking funny because she got COVID. I sat there with her in a closed hospital room. I didn't take on the program. I was like, look, I'm just not available for it. And I knew I wasn't going to have it. I sat there with her all night in a closed door room while she was positive to COVID. She ended up in ICU. She did get, I guess, sick, like quite sick in ICU. And she wasn't vaccinated. She fucking didn't die from it. She ended up
mm,
coming out from it. She completely, like, moved through it. She had some other thing happen in her blood at the same time, but all the high end um, ICU doctors, they were all blaming COVID. They're going, it's COVID, it's COVID, it's COVID. I'm like, hold on, she's actually got an infection in her body. We've seen this as sepsis. It's not COVID. And they were putting all her notes said she was in there for COVID. It was just all COVID. And I'm like, is it though? Like, this is what it
mm.
is. It's actually, and her CRP is this. That's not conducive with COVID. And they done the same thing. They were like, we need to vaccinate her. We need to give her this trial drug. It's going to heal her. And I'm like, but she doesn't need to be healed. She's fucking fine. She's breathing fine now. Like,
Yeah.
it's an infection now. It was just
Oh
such a wild
gosh.
thing. And yeah, she's fine.
Well,
You know,
the,
like,
yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't know what it was like in Australia, but in the UK, the medical profession were actually getting compensated for the more people
yeah,
that they put
same,
on birth death certificates died of COVID. They actually got
same.
more money because it meant they had to handle the bodies in a slightly different way. And that
Right.
isn't information that I got from reading a newspaper or watching the news because I don't do that stuff. But that was
Mm,
information that my team told me after I tuned in
yeah.
and asked them. So, it was all about
It
money
was it
anyway,
was the same
control.
though. Yeah, it was the same. And I think that the courage that a lot of us acquired, remembered, ignited during that time was huge.
Mm,
Because we the trust in what we were feeling, the trust in what was coming through, even though so many were programmed
yeah.
to leave. to lead ferociously. Like we went to a march, my husband and I took our children, and it was when they started vaccinating the children. I was like, fuck this. Like,
Wow.
fuck this. Like in Australia, vaccinating fucking babies and children. Kids were actually told they weren't allowed to go to school unless they were vaccinated here. Like it got pretty intense. And, that's when I was like, nah. And we went to a big march at Parliament House, which is like where all the government meet here in Australia. And there were tens of thousands of people there. And I was on the back of a truck with a child on either of my hips screaming, John Farnham, you're the voice. That beautiful song and such a powerful message, like, we will not be silenced. And um, there were so many people, and nothing was reported, nothing happened. It was hid,
Mm,
it was, and we were just like, what the fuck? Like, how? And it's only upon reflection that I go, no, everything worked perfectly as it was meant to, because
mm,
without that all, you know, people being cursed and whatnot, we wouldn't have had that courage. We wouldn't have been able to ignite that courage,
mm,
that passion, that will hold. I'm fucking standing up and I'm speaking up, and the deep trust.
mm,
We acquired that because of the way that it was dealt with from those right from
mm.
the governments, and you know those
Oh
people
yeah.
that are
Yeah, totally. I mean, like what the other thing my team said is that it enabled you to have a really deep level of discernment about things. And I think a lot of
yeah,
people, even I remember my sister-in-law that has always been like by the book, I would say, vaccinate her children against everything, even though you probably don't need any of it.
right,
Go to the doctors, use pharmaceuticals, that kind of person, just a normal 3D
yep,
person. And even she
right,
was like, something just doesn't add up in this COVID thing. So I'm not getting
yeah.
vaccinated. And I was like, yay, joined up thinking, woo,
But it was
finally.
so exciting for people to get find someone, and it's like, oh yes, yes,
Yeah, I was. I mean, most of my friends I'm surrounded by are kind of like on the same wavelength as me, but there are a few that weren't. And you know what? I didn't ever try to change their minds because I wouldn't want it to be changed my mind. And I just said, look, listen, it's your decision, but you've got to think about what the repercussions will be in 5, 10 years' time of this
yeah,
thing that they know nothing about. And all the
yeah,
information that comes out about that it was experimental anyway, which we all knew
right,
at the start.
right.
Um,
But
but
that was the goal, wasn't it, too? The goal was also separation, knowing
mm,
that there would be people that could see this, they would have known that, and people that couldn't see it, that were kind of very, very programmed. And, they were betting on the fact that there would be that separation. And I was much like you, Lou. Like I had people very close, like my fucking dad and like mom, and people that were like, mum did well, she did want to get vaccinated, but she trusted my feeling. All these people that were very different and had the opposing view, but I was like you in that I'm if you ask me what I'm sensing, feeling, I will share, but it's not my job to convince you,
mm,
right?
yeah,
This is very much people were given the opportunity to choose.
yeah, I
The
agree.
opportunity.
With everything as well, my team has said with everything because, you
Yeah,
know, it remove that please, thank you. It's the worst thing on any level when you're trying to convince someone of anything, right? So I always say, like, I'm a team of one, and I would just carry on working on my own timeline in my own little bubble. And if people come in and they want to share with me, beautiful. If people
yeah,
don't, then whatever, and if things get a bit hairy, and they start throwing shit at me, I would just block them.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I look,
So,
I think you're in this space as well. We at times will get that. We'll get the people coming in and having that opposing view. And I used to get quite upset about it when I was first in the business. Probably the first year, I get quite upset. And I'd be like, don't you understand? Like, this is really sacred work. Like, I'm fucking giving people proof of life after death. Like, like this is beautiful work. And then when I sort of done a lot of deep healing of old shit, past lives, witch wounds, all that sort of shit, then I just realized it's actually not my job to convince you. Like if
mm,
any people go, oh, prove it. Well, if you would like to experience this, please book a session.
Yeah.
You know, I work
Yeah.
in boundaries. Like I work in boundaries and I will only connect with those who are ready. I'll
Yeah.
only, connect with those who I connect deeply with. Like, if you would like that, please, I invite you to work with me. But I'm certainly
Yeah.
not going to be, spending my time trying to convince you that there's more
Oh.
than you can touch, you know?
Oh, definitely. But you've worked on your ego and your past life shit, which makes a lot of difference because there's
Yeah,
still a lot of wounded people out there that want to prove stuff to people. And even some really super successful people I see in groups, love to be put on pedestals, love to create almost like a cult-like culture around them.
yeah,
And codependency. Oh yeah, my team are just reminding me one of my bigger missions as well is to dissolve the codependency world
yeah,
wound on this earth, and it feels like you've got the same mission because you mentioned
yeah,
that quite a few times. But
yeah.
there's still a lot of very super successful people who still get people into their programs like over and over and over again because they want that validation, right? Even though
Right,
they've got to a stage where they're like multimillionaires, and I'm just like,
right,
why do you need that? Surely you give someone the tools, a
right,
system, or the tools, or both, which is what we do, and you put them on their way and say,
right,
bye, have a good life.
right, right. Or, like for me, it's like maintenance, but you're not going to be doing the same thing over and over.
Mm,
Like the same thing. And that's like holding the magic and hiding the magic. And like, and I think for me, that's because of my experience, because I had that experience with somebody when I reflected and went, what the fuck? Like, how could you not share that?
mm,
Like, how could you not tell me that like, how could you allow that? And I don't think it was conscious for her. I don't think she consciously was like, I'm going to hoard these tools. I think that she hadn't uncovered that in herself at that time.
yeah.
That's all. And so now it's like, no, people need to know. People need to know if they can do this. And when someone's like, this is so cool, wow, I'm like, yeah, but you're wow too. We're all fucking
Yeah.
wow. We're all
Yeah.
wow. Like, all of us, we all have it.
I know,
We're all
yeah.
made of the same shit.
It's so cool. Sorry, just to stretch my leg then. Um, cool. So, I mean, where can people find out more about you if they want to stalk you or see what you offer?
Yeah. So I share a lot on social media. So Facebook and Instagram, Amanda Harris Healing. Please feel free to come on. I often do sort of just live readings and live riffs and just chatting. And there's no real rhyme or reason to my work. You'll see that I share everything, whatever comes through. Often what I'm working through or what I'm helping a client work through, I will share that. Lots of it's really a deep, deep mission to put this out there. Whatever gets channeled through, I have to share it. So
Mm,
you can connect Instagram or Facebook or my website. Everything's just Amanda Harris Healing, and you're very welcomed into that space. I've got a beautiful community that I've created where we work with the energy of the moons and we work on being more intentional, and we do sort of webinars every full moon, every new moon, and that's supporting women. It's for women and it's supporting them to be able to live more intentionally, but also consistently do that. So having twice a month show up, and once a month it's the release, and the other time it's the intention and the
mm.
planning. So all of that stuff is on my socials as well.
Beautiful. So what we'll do is we'll share all that when we share a podcast, and so when people want to reach out, they can find you or whatever you want to share, we'll share that with them. So thank
Sounds
you,
amazing.
Amanda. I've loved having you here. I'm going to press stop now and then we'll have a quick chat. And I want to thank our listeners and our readers and our watchers as well for listening. And I appreciate that probably the COVID chat will probably separate a few people. But,
Sorry, but also not sorry.
no,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
lean
Not
in,
fucking
lean
sorry.
in.
And this is the thing what we like to do, we don't edit, we keep things raw, we keep things
Yeah.
open, and we talk about whatever's coming through. So it is what it is, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.